What's the difference between something absolutely terrifying and a puppet? Perspective. What's going on, Devoted Geeks? I'm Dallas Moore, and thanks so much for hitting the play button. Do me a favor, if you like today's content, make sure you hit the like button, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel and ring our bell so you never miss an episode. Ever. Not sure why I said ever so many times. This is the first official Geek Devotion of King of the Monsters month. That's right, all Godzilla, all the time, all month long. We're super excited about every episode of Geek Devotions, and also our podcast, Calm Talk, will be about the king of all monsters, Godzilla, and we are super psyched about all this. Today we're going to be talking about something that came from us watching the first Godzilla movie that came out back in 1954. If you're unfamiliar with the original storyline of Godzilla, it's really quite simple. Essentially, a bunch of ships are going missing, and so there's an investigation into it, and they find out there's a giant monster who has been irradiated by the atomic nuclear testings that was going on back then. And it's not a good thing, and they have to figure out a way to stop his rampage. We talked about a little bit about that rampage and what he really wanted in our episode of What Do Kaiju Really Want? It's up here. It's not real, okay? I mean, the video is real, but the answer's not real. But go watch it. It's a lot of fun. There's a t-shirt advertisement at the end of that episode. This movie is the pinnacle of kaiju movies. If you are a fan of kaiju movies, then you know that this movie, it holds a special place in your heart. It holds a special place in many people's heart because it really was the start of the genre of kaiju movies. Yes, it has predecessors, and you can learn more about those predecessors by checking out Kaiju Vision Radio. I've actually learned quite a bit from these guys over the last couple of days listening to their podcasts, so I encourage you guys to check them out too. As someone who's grown up watching movies and has studied film over the years, I've always found it interesting the way they did things, and Godzilla is one of those films that incorporated so many elements to capture the effect of this giant rampaging monster. It wasn't just a puppet, it wasn't just a man in a suit, it wasn't just like shooting a projection on top of something else to have people run away from a giant monster. There's a lot of elements that came together into one piece, but one of the pinnacle things that they did that I found interesting was their use of perspective. They used a lot of small miniature models that were set up, and they would put the camera down low to make it look like this average sized man was humongous and rampaging through the city. To the average viewer of this movie, back in 1954, this movie was really quite terrifying. Why? Well, because the models were set up in a way that they really did look like their city that they were watching it in. And it dealt with themes and concepts that they, from their perspective, dealt with on a regular basis, and it terrified them. They were legitimately scared about some of the stuff that was going on because there was a sense of reality, because from their perspective, this thing was bigger than life, even though it was a dude in a suit. And a puppet at times. Thinking about perspective really got my brain going in some different directions. Not only is it used to make things seem more terrifying and more menacing, but also perspective can make things look small and lovable and not so terrifying at all. It really is all in the way that the camera is looking at the subject, and that's in our lives. Your perspective on things changes literally your environment. There are times that we go through seasons and we are, because of our perspective, we find ourselves in fear. We find ourselves in places that we're not sure we can handle. We feel like that we're all alone and that we've been deserted. Or maybe we feel like that there's this huge thing in front of us that we just can't handle. Why? Because from our perspective, we're down and we're looking up and there's this huge thing in front of us and it's terrifying. Whereas people on the outside, They just don't see it, and it frustrates us. I understand completely. It's frustrating because there's this thing that's so big in your life, and you go, why don't other people understand it? And you have to realize they're looking at things from a different perspective. And if we have the right perspective, the things that terrify us, the things that go bump in the night, the things that keep us awake at night, it may not be so big to us. I'm someone who's been through a lot of things over the years, and I've struggled with fears and doubts, and they've held me back from accomplishing a lot of great things that God has for me, and I have a lot of regret, because my perspective on things kept me from accomplishing the things that God had for me and experiencing the joys that God wants me to experience. So how do we fix this? How do we change our perspective? Well, we have to start looking at the right things. We have to start realizing what perspective we should look at. Understand that God is bigger than the problems that we have. He's bigger than the person in your life that's causing you issues. He's bigger than your job. He's bigger than the friendships that you have. He's bigger than the abusive friendships that you have. He's bigger than all these things. And I know that in the moment, these things all look huge. Your bills look towering. The people in your life, they're talking you down. They look like they're just mountains. But God is a God above every mountain who brings every mountain down. And the reality is this, and your anxiety and your fear, you feel like that He won't take care of you, but if you really think about it, He does. Matthew 6, verse 25 through 30 says this, "Therefore I tell you, do not be anxious about your life, what you will eat or what you will drink, nor about your body, what you will put on. Is not life more than food and body more than clothing? Look at the birds of the air. They neither sow nor reap nor gather into barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not more value than they? And which of you, by being anxious, can add a single hour to his span of life? And why are you anxious about clothing? Consider the lilies of the field, how they grow. They neither toil nor spin. Yet I tell you, even Solomon in his glory was not arrayed like one of these. But if God can clothe the grass of the field, which today is alive and tomorrow is thrown into the oven, will He not much more clothe you, O you of little faith?" So you have to understand that you are more valuable to God than anything else really on the planet. There's a reason why that in our faith as Christians, the central idea of it is that God loved us so much that He sent His only Son to die on the cross for us, to take our punishment so that we can be restored to relationship with Him. And every little thing in your life, every struggle you have, I promise you He cares about it, and He's there for you, and He wants to help you through it. And if we take the time to take the focus off of the situations and stop looking at what looks like mountains and look to the God of the mountain, we will never be disappointed. I heard somebody say recently that they were never disappointed in God when they finally listened to Him. They might have been disappointed with themselves. They might have been disappointed with the situations that they found themselves in and the people that were around them, but never in Him. So I want to encourage you guys, change your perspective. Change the way you see things. Part of the thing that brought so much fear for the people who first watched this movie, Godzilla, was that things looked familiar to them. There were things that stuck out to them that was part of their everyday life. And I know there's situations in your life that they look familiar. They're the familiar tropes of things that are going to take place, and you're like, oh, I know that this is about to be bad for me. Oh, I know that this is going to be really bad for me. But instead of you going look at these familiar things and going, oh, this is going to be bad for me, change your perspective and realize this is not just a thing that's going to take place in your life, but this is an opportunity for God to do something through your life. Well, guys, that was your devotion for the week. I hope you really enjoyed it. Make sure you leave some comments down below and let me know your thoughts on what we talked about today.
Also, don't forget to check out our brand new top-of-the-line t-shirts that we are selling on Redbubble.
Cue the shirts!
You should go check them out. They're adorable. So I feel like it's saying... I'm gonna lean closer to the mic so you can hear me. It's saying taco. Like, that's the voice I have with the shirt.
It's so sad and pitiful.
It just wants a taco.
Hashtag Kaiju wants a taco.
Hashtag Kaiju wants a taco.
So, it is so sad. Alright, so for our question of the week is simply this. What is your favorite Godzilla movie and why? I have a feeling I know our guest for Com Talk this weekend, Mike Johngrass, his favorite one is probably going to be the one we just talked about. I'm not sure. We'll find out, though. Sunday, he's going to be on with us. Make sure you guys check that out. Celeste, what's your favorite Godzilla movie so far?
Don't hate me. I like the one with Ferris Bueller because it has the babies and they're so cute. They just want tacos.
They just want tacos. Sounds good.
And then you have, Ferris Bueller. I mean,
True story. And actually, that's the one that we're going to be discussing with our friend LJ from Geeks on Grace here in a couple weeks.
I'm excited about that one.
Yes. So
we get to watch it again.
For me, it's one we're not actually covering during our Godzilla month, our King of the Monsters month. For me, it is Godzilla 2000 for one line only. They're talking about, you know what we're talking about. There's this one line in the movie where there's the general, he's talking about this new top of the line missile that's going to take out Godzilla. And he has this one line, and I had it to I did a double take. I had to go back and watch it subtitled. And I was like, did he really say this? And it's in the subtitles. It's simply this. He goes, this new missile will go through Godzilla like crap through a goose. I'm like, what? Who says that?
So, pause on the story. He might have quoted that for a while after the movie. Everything went through somebody like crap through a goose. It was a thing for a while.
It's funny to me. I don't know. All right, so that's what's happening. So that's your question of the week. Leave your comments down below. Let us know your favorite Godzilla movie and why.
Don't forget to check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We update regularly and differently on all of those.
True story. I think that's it, baby love.
Think we're good.
All right.
Y'all have a good week. Stay devoted.
Peace and love.